Good evening, everyone. My name is Dominique McGee, and I am the Woman of Gold. And today, for Woman of Gold Wednesday, we're still continuing our series on wives who work, and I have a very special guest. I have Ariel White here. Hey. So we're just going to jump right in and go ahead and get started. Well,
Okay.
number one, Ariel, can you tell us about yourself?
I love this question. No. So my name is Ariel White. I am a wife. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I actually have two businesses right now that I'm running. I have Sweet Blooms Cupcakes, which is my first business, my first baby, where we specialize in cupcakes, cake jars, and rose cakes. I've been in business with Sweet Blooms for about 4 years. And then about the second year into business, I had my daughter, Layla, my one of two children. And I realized, I need some support. If I'm going to be running a business and trying to be an amazing mom, like business as usual, I needed help. You know what I'm saying? So I actually was looking for a community of other moms who were doing the same thing, who wanted to have a business and wanted to raise their kids. And I couldn't find anything. So me and my great ideas, I decided to actually start a community for mom entrepreneurs called Boss Mom Life. And it has really blossomed. And we basically just focus on creating community for moms, helping them to learn how to start and run their businesses. We have different courses that I teach. And really, like I said, it's really a community for moms to help support each other in business and also in being mothers as well. So that's a little bit about who I am. I could go on and on, but I don't want to bore the people. So
No, it's not boring at all. It's not boring at all. And I had the awesome pleasure of going through the Master Mom Academy. And had it
yes.
not been for that program, Woman of Gold wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here with this, having this interview right now. So that's great. That's awesome. Okay, so what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
So it's a few things that actually inspired me to become an entrepreneur. The first thing I would say is honestly, my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad has run a nonprofit and has had his own construction business all of my life. So it's really all that I knew. My mom was a teacher. So I was interested in that as well. That's actually what I went to school for. But the entrepreneur bug was like in me from day one. It's just that I never knew what I wanted to do and what business I wanted to start. And I realized that after going to school for teaching and teaching for a few years, I realized and that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on doing something that I loved and that I felt would truly make an impact and that I could financially live off of. So I began to just look into like what could I do, and actually my need for or my the idea for Sweet Blooms Cupcakes came out of a need. I was running a mentoring program for girls, and I needed money. You know, us creatives, we have all these ideas. We're like, we're gonna just fly to the moon and back, and then sometimes we don't think about how much it's gonna cost for gas. But so I was like, you know what? I love cupcakes. I love baking. And that's really how Sweet Bloom started. It started because there was a need to raise money for the girls in my mentoring program. And literally, not only, it just bloomed like the name said, like it bloomed overnight and it grew into something I could have never imagined. So yeah, the idea to become an entrepreneur came from one of my parents seeing them have their own business, and then two, out of a need of saying like, man, I need money for this program that I want to run. And honestly, that's why I realized like that I love everything entrepreneur. Like I just absolutely loved it. And it totally makes sense that after I had my daughter, like I began to teach other people how to start their own businesses because that really is such a heart of mine. Like helping other people to learn about how to create financial freedom through their own businesses and realizing that you don't always have to just work for somebody to make a living. Like you can do that doing what you love and in a career and job and using the talents that God gave you. So yeah, that's a little bit about it.
Okay. So so honestly, like before I became an entrepreneur, and this might sound funny, but I had no idea you could desire to be an entrepreneur without already having the business idea. And
Yeah.
I feel like honestly that's what took me so long to get to the place where I'm at, was because I was like, okay, I had the desire to be an entrepreneur, but I
Yeah.
had like what exactly it is I wanted to do. Because I remember like somebody asking me, oh, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. But and they were looking at me kind of funny because it was just like, okay, they were just like, okay, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. But so yeah, you can have the desire to be an entrepreneur without having the idea formed yet.
And I think most entrepreneurs start off that way. And I think for so long, there's like this awkward gap in between, like, I want to be an entrepreneur and figuring it out. And people feel bad for that. But what I always tell people is, you know what, like, I like to like write down what it is that I'm good at. What is it that people come to me for all the time? What is it I love to do? And even if you don't know exactly what it is, what you want to do, begin to take action. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with kind of saying, you know what, I don't know what business I want to get into, but maybe I'll volunteer over here and see if this is something I'm interested in. Or maybe I'll try baking these cookies and see if this is something that I'm interested in. The best way to figure out what it is you want to do is begin taking action. So like, just for anyone else who's out there that's very much so like you and very much so like me, and a lot of other people, is like, just start, like just begin to start to kind of dabble in a few things, write down what it is you're interested in, because that's the only way to really figure out what it is that you're going to do, by actually taking action. We waste a lot of time by sitting back and saying, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just going to sit here and be frustrated because I don't know, instead of taking action and saying, like, let me try a few things out and see if this is something I'm interested in. Because I guarantee you, it's never going to be the first thing that you try, but it will lead you to where you're supposed to be. So maybe you don't necessarily want to bake cookies, you know what I'm saying? But it'll lead you towards writing a book for how to start a online bakery or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So you never know what action can lead you to where you're supposed to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So how has entrepreneurship helped you and your family spiritually and tangibly?
I would probably say it's helped me spiritually, because when people hear that I like bake cupcakes, or my first business was starting a cupcake bakery, they always are like, oh, that's cute, you're baking cupcakes. But I always tell people, like, it's more than just cupcakes for me. And like I said earlier, I started baking so that I could raise money for the girls mentoring program I was running. And what I realized is, through actually having a business, it's helped me to connect to the girls that I mentor even more. Most of the girls that I mentor have either worked in my bakery at some time, or they're working with me now. And it's so funny where you can connect with people and where they let their guards down. Like, I have had girls that have like given their life to God in the middle of baking cupcakes. I have had girls that have like been loosed and broken free from depression. Like, and sometimes it throws me off because I'm like, well, God, I'm just baking cupcakes. But I feel like it's in that space where people can like let their guards down, especially like teenage girls. That's who I work with, where they can be creative and be open. And that's where I see change in them. And it's just so awesome that God, he can use anything. He can literally use a cupcake, like a cupcake bakery, to draw people to him. And I just think it's like absolutely unbelievable. So spiritually, it's like been amazing to see the lives that have like been impacted, and the lives that God has allowed me to touch, just because they've come through the baking world with me, and just because we built a trust with each other. It's just absolutely amazing. So spiritually, it's quite interesting how like just being obedient to God and walking in the purpose that he's called you to do can lead to something far more bigger than what you really think that it is. And I just think that's absolutely amazing. Only God can use anything, like literally anything, to draw people to him, to break depression, to, help other girls find their purposes, I just think it's absolutely amazing. So I would say that's how spiritually it's impacted my life. And then what was the other one?
It was tangibly.
Oh, tangibly, man, it really is a blessing because like my husband and I, our desire is to be debt free. And it has been amazing to be able to like be a part of that process with my business. So the beautiful thing about business is there is no limitation on how much money you can make. The hard work and the time you put in and the strategy, there's no like limit on that. And I just am so appreciative for the opportunity to have a business so that I can like pour into my household and be a part of, you know, paying off our debt and knowing like these orders that are coming in, they're helping me to, you know, become debt free so that eventually help our bigger purpose of, you know, giving to others, helping people going on mission trips, helping other people start businesses. So tangibly, it has like done far beyond what I could ever hope or dream. And I know it's going to do even more because we just have like a lot of things in store. But yeah, it has been quite a blessing. And that is really the thing I do love about having my own business. There's no capital, no cap on how much I can make. If I decide that I'm going to put in the time and strategize and go after the right customers, I don't have to look at like, oh, every 2 weeks, this is what I'm going to make. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love consistent money. I'm just going to say that. But it is something really amazing about saying like with these two hands, I can go out and create as much money as I desire and put my mind to and help my family in the long run. Because honestly, it's not just about making money. This is a legacy thing. I want my kids to see me going after my dreams, starting a business, using the money to be financially wise, pay off debt, and like really build wealth for them. So yeah.
Okay. So two things. So back to what you were saying about how it has helped you spiritually. I think those were some really good points because we have to remember that for us that are Christian entrepreneurs, that it's a ministry, like what we're doing. And sometimes like on the times where I get so caught up in like, okay, nobody's following my page, I'm not making any money, I have to remember like number one, that it's a ministry. Number one, God first. God is the CEO. So yeah, that is a really awesome point. And then the second thing I wanted to say was in regards to how it has helped you tangibly. So question, so what do you do, or have you ever felt like, okay, you're putting in all of this work and you don't feel like you get the return that you deserve? What do you do in those situations? Or how do you build yourself up?
Yes, that is a great question. Oh my goodness. And if I'm honest with myself, some days I'm better at it than others because we're just flesh and blood. Like we're real people. We got real feelings and real emotions. So when you see yourself put so much time and energy into this business is a baby. Like it really is. You nurture that thing. You watch it grow. You watch it make mistakes. So like you get really attached to it. And it can be extremely frustrating when you're like, I'm giving it my all and I don't see a return on it. The first thing, honestly, that I do have to do is I have to reflect on, Ariel, what is it that you are doing? Like, are you really setting yourself up for success or are you setting yourself up for failure? So sometimes it is let me look at the man in the mirror and figure out, am I doing something where I'm setting up my baby or my business not for success? And it's been times where I had to pull back and reflect on that. Honestly, the first year after having my daughter, I had to pull back a few times because there's just a lot of life changes going on there and saying like, am I really, fully committed to this business? Am I doing what it takes for it to succeed? Am I, working harder and not smarter? Because I honestly believe you don't have to be, the hardest working people in the world are not making the most money. They really not. Like some of the hardest working people I know, I have people in my family, like they grind and they go to work, at 6 a.m, they come home super late, but they're not the wealthiest people because they're not working the smartest. So it's not even about like, oh, you have to put in every hour of the day for your business to be successful, but are you working smart at it? And that's kind of the season I'm in life, of saying, especially after having kids, I don't have the time to give. I think before I had kids, I did. I had extra time. I had, more energy. So I was like, I'm going to give you everything. Even if you don't return it, it's okay. I got it to give. But in this season of life with 2 children, I don't have it to give. So I have to work smarter. And that's why I'm all about strategy. That's why I created the planner for boss moms out there, because like we don't have extra time. We have to work smart.
Yeah.
And working smarter, you can make way more money. It's just that, so a lot of times when I get in that place where I'm just like frustrated, where I'm giving everything I have and I'm looking at how much money is coming in, I have to look at myself and say, okay, what are you doing? Are you like just working hard, or are you truly working smart? Because if you're working smarter and you create a strategy, it's going to show up in your business. It really is. And then surrounding yourself around other like-minded people that get it. I cannot stress that enough. Some people you talk to and they're like, oh, that's cute. You tired of working on your business? I'm sorry. Like, they just don't get it. But when you're talking to somebody that's in the trenches with you, or somebody that's like understands what it means to give all that you have, and want to see this thing grow and know that God gave you a vision for it and you don't see the vision yet, and that's frustrating, it makes a difference to know that it's other people that's like, girl, I know exactly what you mean. Or, girl, I've been there last week. This is what I did. So I would definitely encourage that, having like-minded people around you to encourage you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take your advice, because a lot of the times, like, I just sit and I start overreacting, like, instead of being like, okay, calm down, let's see, like, let's re-strategize, let's see what you're doing, like, you know that you're putting in good work, just calm down and just re-strategize, like, regroup. I'm gonna take that advice, because
and the last thing I would say too is, like, we have to learn to be okay and patient with the journey, right? Like, I did this Facebook Live the other day, and it talks about this, I think it's called a Chinese bamboo tree. And it, for 5 years, it doesn't grow at all. Like, the person that like plants the seed has to continue to nurture it, continue to water it. But for 5 years, that tree does not grow at all. It's not until the 5th year where that tree in 5 weeks grows 90 feet tall. So it's very similar to like our journey as entrepreneurs. Like, we could be nurturing that thing, watering that thing, praying over that thing, and we don't see anything. But just like that Chinese bamboo tree, like, there's stuff going on at the root of things. And that's really where our character is built. And I always tell people, it's in the beginning stages of business, when you're struggling, when you feel like giving up, where character is built, that's going to withstand like your success. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get $1 million the first day you start something and keep it, because you haven't built the character to do so. And God knows that. He knows his kids. He like, I need to build some character in you. I need to build some things in you, so that when you do reach that $1 million business, you can sustain it and grow that thing even further. So that's important.
Okay. Yeah. So, we know that you are a mother as well as a wife. So, in what ways do you think we could encourage our spouses to continue to support us?
That's a great question. And honestly, I feel like so many people negate to talk about that topic, and depending on your marriage, it looks different for everybody. Some people have spouses where they just are like, I don't get why you want to go after this business. I don't get why you want to stay up super late, and they don't get it. And that can be a challenge at times, because, your spouse is, if y'all not on the same page, it becomes very hard to do anything, whether that's in business, whether that's how you raise the kids, why you do the money. Like, it's so important that you guys are on one accord. And I think that it's important to like really just sit down and have that conversation with your spouse or your husband, because I think as women, and I'm guilty of it, we just assume they're supposed to know. Like, you're just supposed to know my feet hurt and I need to move up, You're just supposed to know that, you know, I'm taking my business serious and I need, you know, financial support. Because sometimes, like when we first starting off, like we are our own, you know, backers. So we just assume like you should just see I need help. But honestly, we can't. We cannot assume that they just know. We can't assume that they know how to support us or which ways to, because every day it changes. So I really always stress, especially wives, like have that conversation with your husband, and not when y'all in the middle of an argument. You know how don't
Yeah.
don't do it when you know it's heated and everybody's intense and no one's listening. But you know, do it at that time where, you know, if you take him out to dinner and just have like a heart-to-heart conversation with him, because it comes off so much better when y'all both in that, you know, like I'm in my zone and I can hear what you're saying. And that looks different for everybody. Maybe it's, you know, first thing in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but some people are. So maybe it's first thing in the morning. Get up a little early with him and just talk or whatever. But it's definitely very important to get, even if your spouse doesn't quite like fully support, because sometimes it does take time. I am blessed where I can say my husband and I, we're both entrepreneurs. So like we just get it. If I tell him, you know, I had a bad client, like he just gets it.
Yeah.
But you do, even if it takes time, like it's so worth it. I think it's just important to have that initial conversation to say like, you know what, babe, I want to start this business. Like God has given me this vision. And it would just be so awesome if I could have your support, and just tell them what that looks like. That looks like, you know, taking the kids when I come home from work at least once a week, whatever that looks like for you, like being transparent. And then another way to get him on board with your dreams is to ask him about his, because nothing excites people about your dreams like talking about theirs. So if you say, you know what, babe, I had this idea for what I want to do, but what do you want to do? Where do you see us in 5 years? What kind of, do you see yourself opening a business or writing a book or whatever it is? Because when you both are dreaming together, it's like just magic happens. It's like, you know, you become purpose partners, and the thing God called y'all to do together can really be done. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna tell a quick story. My husband is very supportive, but honestly, and I can laugh at it now. The day when I officially let the world know about Woman of Gold, I was upset because I was like, because he didn't like throw me a celebration.
Exactly.
And I can laugh at it now because, like you said, we can't just think that they can read our minds, and that's why I think it really is important to have that conversation, have a conversation with them, so they can see, you know, like how important it really is. It really is to you. And so you mentioned having that conversation. So you can use either example, Sweet Blooms or Boss Mom Life.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like your first time sharing your vision with him? Was it scary for you? Were you excited? How was it?
Go back to Sweet Blooms, because Boss Mom Life. I shared Sweet Blooms with him. That's when I had left teaching, and I was like, I'm gonna do this mentoring program for girls full time. And I think I was a little nervous because I just felt like I was switching a lot. I was like, I went to school for teaching, I left teaching, I started a mentoring program. I wanted that to be a nonprofit. Now I'm talking about baking cupcakes. So I just wanted him to take me serious. I think that's really what it was. I didn't want him to think that I was just like career hopping. Like I'm just gonna hop here and hop there and hop here. I wanted him to take me serious. But once I told him, like, he kind of knows me, and he knows like once Ariel has something set in her mind, she gonna do it no matter what. So he kind of was just like, you know, very supportive. I think in the beginning stages, he didn't know how to support me, and because once again, I have more time and energy because I didn't have children yet, I was okay with like just doing it by myself. But yeah, I think I was just, when I first told him about Sweet Blooms, the first business, I was just concerned that he wouldn't take me serious, and I wanted him to take me serious. I didn't want him to think that I was just, you know, like I said, career hopping, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I do remember that. I remember that season very well because I remember talking to him about how, I thought I was supposed to know what I'm supposed to do at this age. Like, I already went to school, I already graduated. I should know what I want to do. So I think when I did tell him, he was excited that I was excited about finding something that I really wanted to do because I was in this phase of trying to figure it out. Like, yeah, so.
Okay. So why do you think that it's important for wives specifically to pursue purpose?
Girl, I can talk about this all day, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. But it's so important for us to pursue purpose because without pursuing purpose, like, we are not ourselves. Like, every person God put on this planet, he planted a seed of purpose in. And literally, of course, our job is to lead people to God and do that. But there's a specific way and plan in which God wants us to go about doing those things. And if we are not operating in our purpose, like, we just don't feel fulfilled. It's nothing that you can do to feel fulfilled. It's like me having this phone, right? This phone's purpose is to call people. But I can use this phone to bang on the wall. I can use this phone to try to play basketball. But that's not the phone's purpose. So it's never going to be at its full potential if I don't use it for what it was meant to be used for. It's just like us and our purpose. Like, we never gonna feel fulfilled. We're never gonna feel at our best because sometimes you are at moments where you're not walking in your purpose, and that happens. But you're never gonna really feel at your best and really fulfilled if you're not doing the thing that God has called you to do. And like I said, that looks different for everybody. But it's very important for us to do that because we don't want to raise children that think it's okay not to walk in their purpose. We are our kids' first example. And that's exactly what they're going to be doing. If you're walking around here like, I hate my job, I'm not happy with my life, I know I'm not doing what God called me to do, guess what? We're going to have little kids walking around here. I hate school. I don't want to do the right thing. It just looks different in how it manifests in them. But we are our kids' first example. If we're not doing the very thing that God has called us to do, like, we're not living fulfilled lives. And I always tell people, like, your purpose is not for you. I know my purpose in life is so tied up with other people's purpose. If I'm not helping other people figure out what they want to do and what career they want to walk in or whatever it is God called them to do, I feel depleted. I really do. The moment I start working with other people and getting them on track, like, I feel fulfilled, even if I'm tired, even if I'm up till 3 a.m. helping somebody with their business. But our purpose is connected with other people's purposes. So it would be like such a waste to know that you could help other people and people didn't walk in their purpose because you decided, I'm not going to do what God called me to do. And honestly, one of my friends, Taisha, she has a publishing company, November Media Publishing. And I had to thank her one day because I've seen her take her journey to try to figure out what it is she wants to do. And it's because of her that I was able to publish my first book. And it was because of her that I was able to put out my planner that has helped so many other women. And I had to turn to her and say, man, what if you said, I'm not going to be obedient to God telling me to open this publishing company. I'm just going to, publish my own books. I said, because you walked in your purpose, you helped me walk in my purpose. I created books and planners that help other people literally identify their purpose and walk in their purpose. So we have to not be so selfish with, our gifts and our talents, because other people are relying on you, literally relying on you to do what you called to do so that they can then do what God called them to do. And like I said, I could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
It pains me when I see people that are called to do things and they're just living in fear. I know what that's like because I struggle with fear and still to this day struggle with fear. But I have to not let the fear be greater than the purpose God put in me. So, it is so very important as women, as wives, as mothers, because honestly, we're teaching so many other people, and they watching us. We are their examples. So like, let's get them something to look up to, you know?
Yeah. I almost got up and ran across the church off these comments. I used to go to a apostolic church. Every time the word was good, we get up and run. That's what that almost made
Hey,
me.
girl, do what you gotta do.
Okay, so how do you specifically navigate marriage, mommyhood, and entrepreneurship?
Ooh, Jesus, I really, I pray a lot. The second thing I do, like, I'm not trying to plug my planner, but it's very true. My planner is now the perfectly productive planner. I create structure for myself that's realistic. Because like I said, I don't have a lot of time. My time goes to my children, to my husband, to my business. And I need some time for me too. Like, it's important that I make time for me too. So I had to create structure that was realistic to my life. I'm a planner person. Before I even created my own planner, I was always buying 3 or 4 planners. One was always missing something, or one had too much. So I'm not one of those people where I'm like, I need structure every hour of the day, but I do need some type of structure. But I need the flexibility as well, because, you know, Ethan, my son, might poop on himself, and I have to stop and clean the whole area up. You know what I'm saying? But it's for me, it's important that I intentionally create structure that gives me flexibility. So one thing that, like, I'm religious on is weekly, I take time, at least 45 minutes, to say, okay, this is what I want from my week. These are my goals. This is what I need to focus on. Because if you have no focus or no goals, you'll be just aiming at everything, hitting nothing. So that time is very important for me. But I don't, spend too much time doing it because I don't have a lot of time. So I make sure, normally on Sundays, my slowest day, that I pick one day, I pick 45 minutes, and I say, these are my goals for the week. And then every day I have at least 5 minutes at the beginning of the day where I say, okay, I know these are my goals, but what do I need to actually do? What does my to-do list look like for today? I give myself 5 minutes. Nobody can interrupt me, whether I'm up early or my husband has the kids. And then I write out like what my to-do list is. And then I make sure that at the end of the day, I execute that using the structure from the planner that I have. But yeah, I think for me, it's really coming up with realistic structure. And I have to keep stressing that word realistic, because we can have the best of intentions. We can say, you know what, I'm going to get all 10 of these things done today. I'm going to rock it out, and you get nothing done. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just not realistic that you do that much work. For me, I never put more than 3 things on my to-do list for the day. Just because that's realistic for my life right now. Maybe when my kids are older and they're in school, I'll add some things. But I have to be realistic about the time that I have. And my motto is, it's not about being perfect, but it's about being productive. So as long as I'm productive with my time, as long as I'm actually executing my goals, as long as I'm doing it in excellence and I'm being consistent, like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not getting, everything done. But I'm okay with picking a few things and executing those things well and in excellence. And this year, next year, and what's in the planner that I'm trying to work on, though, is making time for myself because everybody else has top priority. Of course, the kids have top priority. Your husband, he squeezes in there too sometimes. And then, I mean, it's true. My poor husband, we got a 2-month-old, so I have to tell him, like, sorry, babe, I got you. I'm gonna make up for this. But then we forget about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We just totally forget about ourselves. So in the planner, I actually make time for like moms to write down, like, what am I gonna do? Your self-care. What are you gonna do for yourself this month, so that you feel better physically, so that you feel better spiritually, that you feel better socially. Like, you need to hang with your friends. It's so good. It's a good outlet to go hang out with your friends and, talk about how crazy your kids are. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have that time when you vent. So yeah, that's just something that I'm working on this upcoming year, making sure that I'm taking care of myself as well. Because like I said, everybody gets priority first. The kids, the husband, the business, and then you kind of forget about yourself in the end. So yeah.
Okay. Have you ever experienced Mom guilt. I think that's what it's called, where you feel
Yeah.
like you you got you kind of put the kids on the back burner for something that you got to get done. Have you
Yeah.
ever experienced that?
I feel bad because this is not something I struggle with. I don't know. At first, I was like, "Does this make me a bad mom because I don't feel mom guilt?" I don't. But I have many friends that talk about it. I sympathize with them. I'd be like, "Girl, I know it's rough," but personally, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because like I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm with my kids all the time. So I don't necessarily feel that guilt if I'm like, I'm gonna go hang with my friends, or I feel that guilt when I'm like, you stay with your dad because I need to focus on my business. Like I just don't necessarily think I feel like guilt personally because I'm with them all the time. I was always around so many moms before I ever had kids, so I would learn from them a lot. Like I would just hear their stories, hear what they did, and yeah, I just feel like I just kind of learned from them. So when my kids came, I didn't necessarily struggle with mom guilt because I had heard like their experience with it, and that you shouldn't feel bad for needing time, or bad because your kids you need your grandma, their grandmother to watch the kids. And I just kind of learned that like that really helps their growth as well. Like they need time away from you just as much as you need time away from them. Like it's really good for them and their development as well. So I just think that's the reason I never like struggle with it per se. You're the first person to ask me that, and I told the truth. So maybe God wants me to be with not feeling mommy guilt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so two more questions.
Mhm.
So what would you say to the woman that is single that would say, I need to have an established business before I have a husband and kids. So what would your response to that person be?
Um, that's a nice. It's a good thought to want to have an established business, have a husband and kids. But if I'm honest, I think if that is the plan and journey God has you on and it works that way, that's cool. But my story is interesting because honestly, I was afraid to have kids. So I was cool with getting married. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get married, I'm still do my thing and we're gonna be married, that's fine. But I was afraid to have kids because I was like, once you have kids, your life is over. You can't do what you want to do. Like I was totally just afraid. I really wasn't, to the point where I had to pray and ask God, like, when it's time for me to have children, please prepare my heart, prepare my mind, because I just have this fear. It's in me. Even my first year when I knew like we're not necessarily gonna have kids yet, I just always struggled with the idea because I've seen so many moms lose their identity in their kids, and that's all it was. So I just became afraid, like I'm gonna lose Ariel once I have children. And it is interesting because it wasn't until after I had my daughter that I was really able to see like what it was God had called me to do. So I was cool doing my cupcake life, baking cupcakes, and that was fine. But it wasn't until I had my daughter and I started Boss Mom Life that I realized, man, it's a bigger picture here. Like God wanted me to start that cupcake business so I could teach other people how to run their businesses. It had nothing to do with cupcakes and desserts and weddings, nothing to do with that. And I just always am like, it's so interesting how God does things, because the very thing that I was afraid of, having a child, having children, was the very thing that was needed to help push me into what he really wanted me to do, which was help other women identify their purpose, to create a plan and generate profit doing that very thing. And I always I think one time I was driving, I had dropped my husband off at work, and I was just kind of thinking about it. And I was like, God, wow. Like the very thing that I was afraid to do was tied up in what my purpose was. And when I had Layla, I think it was, of course that purpose was revealed to me. But then after I have Ethan, it just gives you a different kind of motivation. Like having children gives you a different kind of motivation. I wish you could have this motivation when you didn't have kids, because it does force you to work harder and go get it. But you just realize, like, I'm doing this for little human beings that are not me. They need me to do this. They need to see a woman that is walking in her purpose, that is creating a lane for herself, that's following her dreams, that's generating money outside of what people say you should do. Because when I left teaching, people were like, when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, I have a real job. I started a business.
I hate that so much.
Don't come in my job. This is a real job. Yeah. I am an entrepreneur. I make real money. How much do you make? But anyway, we're not going to go there. Sorry, Jesus. Yeah, so it's just amazing how we can have our plans. And that's why when people say you tell God your plans and he laughs. So I think it's in theory a good idea to say you want to be established before you have those things. But oftentimes the very thing you need to succeed or walk in your purpose, like, is tied up into I call my husband my purpose partner. So we're not just married because we love each other and, I think he's so fine, which that's part of it, but we purpose partners. I know it's a specific reason God put us together. And then even with my children, like, they came in and revealed a purpose to me that I didn't even know was there. I was afraid to do it. And that's the very thing that showed me exactly what it is he wanted me to do. So it's cool. It's cool to, have that.
Yeah.
Let's do that plan, consult God on it. And then if that's not it, be able to laugh and be flexible and say, okay, I'm going to do what he wants me to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is a word. Okay, so last question. What advice do you have for wives who work?
That work like 9 to 5 jobs?
Either or, entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll give a combined answer. If you work first of all, if you work a 9 to 5, or if you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home working mom, whatever title you want to go, you're still doing a lot. So yeah. I just want to say that I think sometimes we try to shame and guilt people that go to work like they not working just as hard with their kids or whatever. Being a mom is hard. I don't care what your title is or where you work at. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But any advice, I think the main advice that I would give to working moms is you are worth your dream. So we push it on everybody else. We give it to everyone else. We give it to the kids, the husband, the cousins, the friends. And sometimes we forget that, like, we are also worth our dreams. Like, we deserve to be happy. We deserve to do things that we love. We deserve to walk in purpose. And when you begin to, like, realize that about yourself and not feel guilty for wanting something for you, like, I feel like that's when things really can happen. Like, stop feeling bad because you desire to be an entrepreneur, or you desire to be the boss of your own company, or you desire to have whatever dream it is that you desire. Like, that desire is in you because God put it in you. And by actually walking in it, you're doing the very thing that pleases God. So stop feeling like just because I want something, like it's a bad thing. Stop feeling like I can give to everybody else and not give to myself. You are worthy of it. Like, you deserve this dream. You deserve to be happy. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we feel like we have this either or syndrome. Like, I could either be happy or I could either make money. Believe it or not, you could be happy and make money and do what you love. So I would really just encourage, like, working moms. I don't care what that looks like. Maybe you want to climb the top of the ladder at your job. Like, you are worth it. You deserve it. Maybe you say in a year, I want to quit my job and work for myself. Well, you're right. You are worth it. You deserve it. Like, stop feeling like the things that you desire are really there to torture you and say you'll never have that. No. If you desire that, you can have it. And I really would encourage you to create a plan to push towards doing that. Because I'm all about taking risks, but make sure they're strategic. Don't just quit your job because you're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Create a plan, you know what I'm saying, for how to leave that job, or whatever that looks like for you. So yeah, that's what really the word I would leave with working moms. Like, you deserve it. It's okay to desire something and to pursue it. You're worth that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ariel, for this awesome interview. I definitely got some great knowledge and wisdom from you, as I always do. I wish I could just fold you up in my pocket and take you everywhere, like, seriously, because because you're just that awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add before we end our video?
The only thing I would like to add is just some upcoming things that I have coming up. I'm actually launching Boss Mom Life University, where it'll be focused heavily on like teaching women and moms how to start and grow their business. So we do that with Boss Mom Life, but I'm literally going to structure it like a university. I'm super excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming up soon. It'll be courses, workshops, and I'm actually going to start that up as a nonprofit because like, like I know when I first was starting a business, any money that I had needed to go to that business. And I didn't necessarily have capital to say, oh, I'm going to invest this in learning how to run my business. So I want to offer a lot of free programs, a lot of like low price programs so that if you're starting, I don't ever want money to be an excuse. It doesn't change the value that you have and the purpose you have. So let's like give you the information. And then also the planner, the Perfectly Productive Planner is for mom entrepreneurs. That is out and you can order that on pre-sale at thebossmomlife.com. I'm super excited about this planner. Like I said, I'm a planner person, but it really is awesome. It's gives you enough structure where you can actually be productive, but it's not like overwhelming where you feel like I'm not going to do any of this. So yeah, that's just a little bit about what I have going on. I definitely want to make sure they have the information.
Okay. All righty. So that was our interview with Mrs. Ariel White in our Wives Who Work series. Happy Halloween. I forgot to mention that earlier. That's why I'm wearing cat ears. It's because it's Halloween. So if you still out, be safe. And make sure you join my community. If you join my community, you'll have access to all my exclusives as well as discounts on upcoming events and products. So my name is Dominique McGee and I am the Woman of Gold. Have a good night. Bye, Ariel.
Bye.